How was ice hockey invented? Sports have always evolved from our desire for recreation. Human beings' natural urge to play and compete has transformed these activities into games with defined rules. However, played on ice, this hockey game has a rather unique story about its origin and invention. To your surprise, it can be known as one of the few games that became popular soon after the world started knowing it. Want to know how exactly it emerged as a special game that could be played indoors too? Keep watching because we have got some surprises for you. Ice hockey wasn't invented overnight. It has deep roots in various stick and ball games. Thanks to the extremely cold winters of regions like Canada, North America, and Europe, the locals enjoyed it in some forms as their favourite outdoor activity during winters. In England, a local game known as bandy was played with a stick and ball on frozen water ice. This game was also formerly known as hockey on the ice. While in Scotland, some versions of shinty were played on ice during the winter season. These were known as ice shinty. Similarly, Ireland also played a ball and stick game on grass known as hurling. All of these games were similar, but the equipment and game rules were slightly different. Now, let's come back to the ancestor of ice hockey, Canada. This country had the most notable influence on ice hockey. Here, the native Canadians of the eastern part, like maritime provinces Quebec and Newfoundland, known as the Mi'kmaq people, played shinny on the ice of frozen lakes and ponds using sticks and pucks. This informal version of ice hockey was similar to hurling and field hockey, but had a different rink made of smooth and slippery ice. The stick used in the shinny was made of high-quality wood, while the puck was made of wooden block or leather. However, as a cultural game and source of mutual amusement, this game was flexible and had fewer rules, which were modified according to the need. How simple it is! No, the story of ice hockey's invention and development actually starts with the arrival of the British soldiers in Canada. They embraced the local Canadians' game of shinny because of their love for bandy and hurling. Similarly, the native Canadians welcomed this sharing of mutual interests. So they started playing early ice hockey in their local settings, but more often probably every day, anywhere. Unfortunately, at that time, the game needed improvements in many areas. And for these reasons, these games only resembled a freewheeling winter pastime more than a professional sport. First, early ice hockey relied on old-fashioned sticks made from readily available wood, which lacked the firmer grip, standardized curves, and weight distribution that modern sticks offer. Players also didn't have any protective gear. They might wear thick clothing for warmth, but didn't use padding for elbows, shoulders, or shins. This is why one fall could result in a serious fracture, which would prevent a player from playing the game his whole life. It was an absolutely dangerous scenario. What's more? Imagine somewhere the game had only 6 players, and in some areas it had up to 20 players. It was a big confusion. It was like you've been playing ice hockey with 6 players, then you go to visit some of your uncles, and they play it with 20 players. All rules would be changed. Not only this, but early ice hockey games were also played on the natural surfaces of frozen rivers and lakes, which lacked ice quality. Additionally, the size of the playground also changed according to the available surface for safe play. Indeed, the chaos of discipline was there, and snowdrifts and cracks were unavoidable. But one thing was certain: the people's love for the game. They just wanted to play it, no matter how challenging it was. Let's talk about the early puck in these games. It was also not the same as you see today. The iconic vulcanized rubber puck has consistent bounce and control. But in the early days, the players used any object as a puck, depending on the local availability. A ball, a rolled-up piece of cloth, or even a frozen animal bladder could serve as the puck. Because of the different materials, these objects behaved differently on ice. All these problems needed the standardization of the game, but it didn't happen instantly. Safety became the top priority, so the players made some early attempts to protect themselves. They might wear thick leather gloves or makeshift shin guards using wood or padded fabric. Goalies, who were the most vulnerable players, started using some basic type of DIY padding crafted from scraps of leather or cloth. These improvements in ice hockey continued due to the locals' interest in the game. In this regard, Montreal, one of the largest Canadian cities, with its long and cold winters and frozen waterways, played a significant role in the growth of ice hockey. The people of Montreal were more involved in ice hockey. They enjoyed it as their favorite outdoor game, so they understood all the major problems associated with this game too. This is why Victoria's skating rink was established in 1862 in Montreal. The establishment of this park proved a cornerstone in the evolution of present-day ice hockey. Now ice hockey could be played indoors, all around the year, in this first indoor rinks controlled environment. More opportunities to play translated to more matches and competitions. This led to the development of organized leagues. Soon after, Montreal saw the formation of the first ice hockey clubs in the late 1800s. Most importantly, the Montreal Hockey Club was founded in 1875. The Montreal Hockey Club also organized the first official ice hockey match in 1875. These clubs began to make rules, standardize the equipment, and refine game strategies. Eventually, McGill University Ice Hockey Club published the first documented set of ice hockey rules in the Montreal Gazette in 1877. The primary aim of making this rulebook was to bring order to the previously chaotic on-ice battles. McGill University Ice Hockey Club's rulebook restricted the team size to 9 players. The game was no more free-for-alls. Likewise, it defined the playing area as an open and oblong rink with no board to contain puck. This rink should have goals at each end, marked by upright posts and a horizontal crossbar. Besides these, McGill's Ice Hockey Club made the goals simple. Set 8 feet apart, these 2 goals had 2 flags. Thanks to these rules, players now had a more organized and controlled space for gameplay. The McGill's Ice Hockey Club didn't focus only on the game structure, but also ensured a fair and enjoyable game. They disallowed unfair and risky practices like tripping, slashing, and holding opponents. This infused sportsmanship and player safety in the game. To make the game safer and more disciplined, it specified the puck type as a flat wooden block. This special puck also needed new puck handling skills and strategic passing plays. Although McGill's rules were not as developed as today, this early standardization profoundly impacted the development of ice hockey across Canada. News of these codified regulations spread quickly, and soon more organized competitions started in ice hockey communities and clubs. Now the ice hockey lovers had a sense of shared purpose. They became more enthusiastic and responsible towards their favorite game. But it didn't stop here. It was just the beginning of upcoming refinements. For example, McGill students like Richard F. Smith introduced a vulcanized rubber puck carved from a lacrosse ball for its elasticity, bounce, durability, and innovation. Now the time had arrived when this fashioned ice hockey was ready to travel around the world and spellbound the global audiences. But how? The credit goes to Canadian immigrants. These Canadian natives traveled to the United States, mainly for education or work and education. Upon traveling, they brought their beloved winter pastime with them. Similarly, during World War I, Canadian soldiers introduced the locals to the fast-paced sport on makeshift rinks wherever they were appointed. In no time, the news of hockey on ice spread like fire in the jungle. Communities across North America and Europe began forming their own clubs, following the structure of McGill. Finally, the first World Championship of Ice Hockey was organized at Montreal's annual Winter Carnival in 1883, which was won by the McGill team. By the late 19th century, regional leagues started emerging. The Amateur Hockey Association of Canada, AHAC, was founded in December 1886 as the first national governing body for hockey. These organizations arranged ice hockey competitions in their respective countries, which fostered the sport's popularity. So, by the end of the 19th century and early 20th century, ice hockey had flourished as a national sport in many countries. But it wasn't enough. The game must be recognized as an international sport too. In 1908, the ice hockey playing countries laid the foundation of the Liga Internationale de Hockey sur Glace in Paris. LIHG was later renamed the International Ice Hockey Federation in 1922. The IIHF standardized rules and regulations on a global scale. This led to the recognition of ice hockey internationally. Resultantly, the first Olympic match of ice hockey was organized in the Olympic Summer Games of 1920 in Antwerp, Belgium. This wasn't an end. A continuous journey of ice hockey started at this point and is still going on. Today, countries like Russia, Sweden, and Finland boast strong hockey traditions, which add to the sport's international flavor. Besides this, the game engages about 2 billion fans globally. From humble beginnings on frozen ponds to the international stage, this was the story of ice hockey's global expansion. It is a sport that has evolved from a casual outdoor game to an organized, regulated, and highly popular international sport. So, did you like the story of ice hockey, how it was invented, and the way it has gained such immense popularity? Let us know in the comments section below. If you like this video, don't forget to share it with your friends and subscribe to this channel for more amazing stories like this.